Okay, my friends, we're going to wrap up our final series here, these last two videos, into two parts. So this will be part one, long-term success with your fat loss. So coming off a fat loss diet of 6, 8, or 12 weeks, you are leaner, yes, but you are not done. Your body will want to get back to your old weight, and most people succumb to this and are not successful long-term. So with this video, I'm going to help you succeed with some long-term tips as well as habits, with the goal being to keep as much of that weight off as possible and hopefully for good. So let's get started. Here is a truth that you must accept and acknowledge. When you are done with your fat loss diet, you are not done dieting. Yep, you heard that right. You then transition into what's called a maintenance diet or a maintenance phase. And this means three important things. First, you continue to stick to your diet of mostly healthy foods. You are not going off the rails, eating junk food for days or for meals at a time, adding in a bunch of calorie surplus, because if you do this, you will inevitably gain it all back, reverse your progress and your hard work that you did for 6, 8, or 12 weeks, which demoralizes a person, and thus they give up on their eating plan and they say things like, well, that just didn't work. And they go look for a quick fix in the meantime, and that will not work either. The fat loss phase is over for now, which also means so is part of that deficit. So, number 2 is we add 50% or half of the deficit back into the diet. Not all of the calories back, but 50% of the deficit. Here's an example. Let's say I started my fat loss diet at 3,000 calories and I ended across the phase at 2,000. Let's say that happened, okay? Now, I'm going to my maintenance phase, and let's say I bump that to 2,500 calories, continuing to eat my healthy basics, okay? That's the goal. Number 3 is to monitor and to watch your body weight. Accept and know that naturally you're going to gain about 2%-ish back immediately, and this is not a big deal. A lot of this is water, and a lot of this is just a normal part of the process, okay? Especially coming out of the fat loss phase. But this is important to say, if you notice that your weight at the end of the fat loss phase into the maintenance phase is still declining, I want you to add 250 calories more on top of that. Yes, our metabolism is firing, our activity is still high, and we are actually losing weight, and that may be what you want. But we want to create a healthy cycle for the body long term, not an obsessive loss cycle that comes with detriments, which we'll get into. Realistically, what could also happen is the flip side, is that I go to 2,500 and I'm still losing weight, but I'm in the maintenance phase. And I go up to 2,750 for my calories for 2 weeks, and I'm still losing weight through those healthy foods, my metabolism, the activity. So I go to 3,000 calories, and this is where I'm able to maintain, and this is my new maintained baseline. Do not deviate off course. We will get into why, okay? Now, along the journey, you will learn about the ability to stabilize. This is something you must experience. After 3 to 4 weeks of maintaining in the maintenance phase, we should no longer have cravings or hunger pains. We should feel somewhat normal and getting back to stabilization. Lastly, if you desire, you slowly introduce junk food, or we'll call it meal or treat food, and you do this after checking all the previous boxes. And you have yourself a treat here and there, not an entire day or an entire diet. We remain active and we're still eating mostly healthy foods most of the times. Now, keep an eye on your weight, and if after 2 weeks our weight is going up, reduce the junk or the treat meals, especially maybe even some fats, okay? This is an attempt to show you how you can incorporate some of those things that we as human beings want and crave and are tasty, and we can still live a happy, healthy lifestyle. Okay, we don't have to rid them completely. We just need to monitor some things and be able to be adaptable and fluctuate. Please know that coming off the fat loss diet into the maintenance phase, when you reintroduce junk food and treats occasionally, it's going to take about, I would say, 3 to 4 weeks for the weight to stabilize. Okay, think about what we're introducing back into the body. Now, the maintenance phase lasts months. This is an important step that most people skip altogether. Our maintenance phase should equal the time and duration of the previous fat loss phase that we just were in. So that means if your fat loss phase was 8 weeks, our maintenance phase is 8 weeks. If our fat loss phase was 12 weeks, that means the maintenance phase is 12 weeks. So recognize that you are signing on for potentially 24 weeks here. And this, my friends, is hands down the best approach and gives you all the advantages for succeeding long-term with your new physique. Almost all people, I don't want to speak for all people, but almost all people do not want the fat back. And this is the way to do it correctly. If you get through the maintenance phase, if you succeed at getting through that maintenance phase, your chances of keeping that fat off skyrocket. So remember, you have a fat loss phase into a maintenance phase. Think about it like this. Learning how to drive and knowing how to drive. Learning is the fat loss, maintaining is the knowing. In the learning, you're aware of everything. You're monitoring everything. You're tracking everything. Everything is new. But once you're in the maintain phase, a lot of those things are second nature, but you still need to stay aware of things to not crash and to be obviously a good driver on the road. So now the question will likely come up, what if after the fat loss and maintain phase, I have more fat I want to lose? Because there are limits in a fat loss phase. Duration for a fat loss phase should not exceed 12 weeks at a time. That's healthy, okay? And healthy fat loss in that time should be about 0.5 pound to 2 pounds at most, that's pushing it, per week. So that means in that time period of 12 weeks, healthy fat loss is anywhere from 8 to 24 pounds, realistically 1 pound per week, okay? And I'm going to remind you that after the fat loss phase, we follow that with a maintenance phase. And there will be temptation as you near the end of your fat loss phase, if your weight is continuing to go down, to just turn that phase from 12 weeks into 16 or to 20. Because I'm so close to my goal. Don't do this. That is a good way to crash and burn. And not only jack up hormones and things like that. So a good reminder is you do not want to lose more than 10% of your total body weight in any particular fat loss phase. This is a major rule in long-term fat loss success. Now, realistically, most people should shoot for 6 to 8%. We're taking a long view approach here, okay? That could take multiple fat loss phases with multiple maintenance phases between those, okay? Most people do, unfortunately, they just do not factor in the years and years and years of decisions and bad habits and small little accumulation of just the wrong things, the missteps with nutrition, the drinking, the food choices that come with adding weight, and they want fat loss in 4 weeks. You're not going to lose in 4 weeks what it's taken you years of patterns and these things to develop. It's just not realistic. And I understand that's a bummer to hear, but that, my friends, is the truth and what people need to hear. And that's a large portion of why people are unsuccessful, is their mentality. The misnomer in thinking here. So this concludes part 1. And in part 2, we're going to pick up with some important closing remarks.